Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. The Hollywood Reporter spoke to some Saturday Night Live cast members and asked them their favorite classic sketches. Kenan Thompson went with James Brown's Celebrity Hot Tub Party. Now, we are going way back, but if you're of a certain age being my age, yeah, that was an amazing sketch way back in the day. Heidi Gardner also picked Eddie Murphy's James Brown Gonna Get in the Hot Tub sketch. She said, "My mom and dad saw it and had to show me and my brother. I love thinking about us in my childhood living room, laughing as a family. One time my brother did get in a hot tub and jumped out just like Eddie did." Cecily Strong said, "I definitely recreated the Superfan sketches," that's the Chicago Bears, Da Bears sketches, "for talent shows. I was probably imitating Mike Myers' characters and sketches pretty often. I'm sure I had a bad impression of every single SNL character at some point in my life." Ego Nwodum went with Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, also a favorite of mine. "It was the perfectly edgy yet silly nod to such an endearing show. I was mesmerized with Eddie Murphy's ability to say such shocking things while keeping a charming smile on his face. I was like, should I be laughing at this? But I always was." Punky Johnson went with More Cowbell. It's a lot of people's favorite, right? She said, "It was the funniest, dumbest thing I've ever seen. I love when they break character, and that means people having a great time. If you watch that sketch, keep an eye on Jimmy Fallon. He is losing it in the middle of it." The Daily Mail caught up with Patton Oswalt. He said, "I do a lot of reading. For a long time, I stopped reading because I got wrapped up in my brilliant effing career. Now I'm like, you need to enjoy other parts of your life besides your dumb career. There are programmed downtimes in my world. If I'm on a plane, that's a chunk of time. I'm a little spoiled because I have a small screening room in my house. It's not a brag. The house came with it. So now it's hard for me to watch things on my iPad now." The article gets into Patton remarrying after the death of Michelle McNamara, Patton's first wife, in 2016. Patton is now married to actress Meredith Salinger. In 2019, Patton said there was some weirdness when he got remarried, giving his daughter Alice a stepmother. He told Kevin Nealon on Kevin's YouTube show, "When Michelle was Alice's mom, Alice was still a little kid. Then I married Meredith. Now Alice is 10, and both Meredith and I are like, you have responsibilities, you have some chores. We treat her like a 10-year-old. And there have been times when Alice goes, with Mommy, I didn't have to do this." And Patton says, "Well, that's because you were 5. And if Mommy were here, you'd be doing all the same stuff, probably even more." Indie Star caught up with Jeff Dunham. "Hey, Jeff, some folks have begun to lump you in with Foxworthy and other conservative comedians. I'm going to push back on Jeff Foxworthy being a conservative comedian. Like, I feel like that's a loaded term. I don't feel like Foxworthy is out there sitting next to Gutfeld, you know? Jeff kind of does his thing. He goes home to Georgia every night, and I know this for a fact. He has explained to me why he does that and the economics of doing that, and you are listening to somebody who has rented a plane for Jeff Foxworthy. That is something I did in my career. Why did you rent him a plane, Johnny Mac? Jeff did me a favor and showed up at a Super Bowl broadcast. I'll keep the story short, but if you work at Sirius, the Super Bowl is the Super Bowl of radio events over at SiriusXM. So I had to call in the big guns, ask Foxworthy to do me a favor. He was playing in Michigan that night, and he had a private plane booked from Atlanta to Michigan. So I had to add a stop to get him to New Orleans and then up to Michigan. And he's explained to me, a lot of comedians have explained to me, so say you make $100,000 playing an arena, and you can get home in your own bed at 11:30 at night, and it costs you $7,000. Now, for you and me, you're like a $7,000 flight, but they look at it like, all right, instead of making $100,000 today, I made $93,000 today, and I'm in my own bed, and I'm not trying to catch Southwest Airlines and transferring at O'Hare. It kind of makes sense at scale. I digress. I think Foxworthy is just doing his thing, some silly jokes, and he goes home to his wife at night. He's not Gutfeld. And I'm sure Gutfeld goes home to his wife at night. I don't know. Is Gutfeld married? I don't even know. Let's find out. So I typed into Google Gutfeld married, and what came up? As of 2018, Gutfeld resides in New York City with his Russian wife, Elena. He met the photo editor in London, where he lived for 3 years. An article from June of 2022 says, yes, Greg Gutfeld is married. He's married to Elena since 2004. So, yes, Greg Gutfeld is married, in case you were curious. And I'm not here to bash on Gutfeld. I just see the phrase conservative comedian and guy doing comedy on Fox News Channel is what came to mind. I guess I could have said, I don't know, Dennis Miller. But anyway, Indie Star, I'm pushing back on Jeff Foxworthy being, quote, conservative comedian. Again, Jeff Foxworthy's not, say, David Cross, but all right. We get the point, Johnny Mac. Read the article, will ya? Okay. Indie Story asked Jeff Dunham. Hey, Jeff Dunham, some folks have begun to lump you in with Foxworthy and other conservative comedians. You have a new character who's making fun of young, sensitive people, and you do Biden jokes and things like that. Jeff said, when Trump was in office, I had a lot of fun with that. We did a bunch of videos where Walter would dress up like Trump and we called him Grump. That pause you heard was me staring into the camera blankly. We made fun of everything, and there is no camera. We made fun of everything there was to make fun of with Donald Trump, and now Biden's in office, and that's free game. This is the thing that makes me scratch my head, says Jeff Dunham. In the days of Will Rogers, Bob Hope, Carson, Leno, you never really knew what those guys' politics were. They didn't talk about it. They made jokes about who was in office and what was going on in the world and commented on society. They didn't judge. They didn't call people names. What's happened today confuses me. So many comedians and all the late night guys will pick a side and then just bash the other side and do mean jokes, and they're alienating a potential 47% of their audience when they don't need to do that. I'll jump in there. I sometimes catch heat because I read the late night jokes, and over the last few years, a lot of the late night jokes have been anti-Republican. I look at it like, well, for me personally, it's Daily Com News. I'm just telling you what the comedians are up to. Then about a week and a half ago, I did an episode about Greg Gutfeld. And I always go for the saucy headline, and I borrowed a phrase from the article asking if Gutfeld was killing comedy or whatever was said, and a bunch of people gave me grief for not liking Gutfeld. And I'm sure this episode is really helping me with my argument as well, right? But anyway, I feel like you got to jump in the conversation. Like, you can't just sit here and not do Biden jokes or not do jokes about the next president. Like, you got to kind of swim in the stream. So I get what Jeff Dunham's saying. But on the other hand, I don't know. Dunham said, I love the idea of making fun of what's there in front of everybody and what's easily made fun of and fun to make fun of. But you don't do it in a mean-spirited way. I pride myself on the fact that many people now from the left see my show and go, Walter is Biden, but we're not trashing the left. We're just making fun of what we're all seeing on a daily basis. Yeah, that. And people walk away going, yeah, that was fine. The same thing when Trump was in office. People from the right would come to the show and go, yeah, that was fine. Exactly. That's my sense of humor. I try not to do mean. I like to do silly. Foxworthy said he's 2 bad decisions away from hanging drywall. You know what I mean? I'm 1 joke away from working on cars. I'd hate to be a comedian coming up right now who doesn't have some sort of following because there's nobody there with your back. Everybody's going to jump on and pile on what they hate. I had the luxury of being in this business for decades and have a loyal following. And they know they're coming to a fun show. Nobody's going to get hurt. It's goofy, stupid comedy. It's not a Dennis Miller. See, there's a conservative comedian. There are no references you'd have to be a Rhodes Scholar to understand. From Yahoo, Costco comedian Matt O'Brien loves the warehouse even more than you do. Yeah, that got me to click. All right. Yahoo writes, from its stubbornly underpriced hot dog to its absurdly oversized bulk items, Costco is a wonderland of curiosities. Few people have capitalized on the store's mysterious magnetism as creatively as stand-up comic Matt O'Brien. He's Canadian. When he first started touring the U.S., he struggled a bit to come up with relatable material. He said the U.S. is really different culturally from Canada. Yeah. I remember being on the road and talking about a Costco because I just joined it and I loved it and the whole crowd was into it. No matter what town you go to, you talk about Costco, people are obsessed with it. Even in LA, of all places, people are just religiously obsessed with the store. Now, he doesn't travel anywhere without checking out the local Costco. Even in Canada, where he says the food court poutine lives up to the hype, he calls it one of the best poutines he can get. Or even in Hawaii, where the outdoor food court is made up of food trucks, he notes, that was cool to see. He's got some videos on his socials titled Secret Costco Hack, which pokes fun at the crowds, the hot dogs, the bulk items, and the staffer who always checks your receipt after checkout. He made a Costco video when he had COVID and couldn't leave the house. The whole video was like, I can't go to Costco, so I'll green screen myself there. I just green screen myself shopping at Costco and filling up the toilet, and then a bunch of alarms go off. It's very stupid. But recently, I've been shopping and it's been crazy, and I'm like, you know what? I'll make another stupid Costco video. I've gotten so many messages from people who are like, make this a series, keep it going. So I think I'll just keep green screening myself at Costco until the big business takes notice of me and gives me money. When I walk around there, I'm like, let me try each job once. Let me be a deli guy. Let me be a rotisserie chicken guy. I'd love to be a receipt checker. I want to know what the hell they're looking for in those receipts. I ask them. No one ever tells me. It's like this little secret, like we aren't supposed to know what they're looking for in these receipts. So I'd love to crack that code. A couple times I've joked on stage that I want to record a comedy special inside of Costco, and I've had PR people approaching me like, we could try to pitch this. Let's try to get this going to be the first guy doing Costco material inside of a Costco. He adds, also, I have Kirkland shirts and Kirkland sweaters, and my wife and I will purposely wear them when we fly because flight attendants are a million times nicer to us. I've walked on planes and flight attendants have been like, oh, Mr. Kirkland, do you work with Costco? Even crossing the border into Canada, if you want to sneak into Canada, wear a Kirkland shirt, because they barely ask me any questions. They were like, oh boy, Costco, I love that place. I'm like, me too. I don't even know if they looked at my passport. They're so hypnotized. This article's a lot of fun. So he's Matt O'Brien, the Costco Comedian. And that's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows, even at Costco. See you tomorrow. All right, here's the pitch. 5 stories. They're all good news. It's called 5 Good News Stories. No negative news, just good news. Nice, easy way to start your day. Hopefully a smile. Hi, I'm Johnny Mac, host of 5 Good News Stories. You get the premise? There's 5 stories, and they're all good news. It's the number 5 Good News Stories. 5 Good News Stories. Follow the show wherever you get your podcasts.